She's going to come up here and we're going to talk a little barrel racing. Give her a hand, everybody. And this is brought to you by Crew Girl, is that right? Yeah, perfect. Check your mic, make sure that's working there.
Is it working?
It's working. How's it been going? You've been busy.
I've been busy today, signing autographs,
Yeah.
and I finally stopped long enough to grab me some lunch.
Perfect. You were up here yesterday, and you taught me a lot about barrel racing yesterday.
That's a good thing.
Stuff that I didn't know. And I was telling her a second ago, the barrel racing came on today, and boy, I perked up. You know, I was like, I got to check all of this out. And first, I want to let everybody know that this is streaming live on NRSworld.com. So say hello to everybody out there. But
hi, Mom.
Yeah, say hi to Mom. Say hi to Mom and all your friends.
And to my husband and my son that are iced in at home.
Where is home?
Sanger, Texas.
Sanger, Texas. Well.
Yes, they were going to come join me, and they're iced in and not happy.
This 38 degrees out here feels pretty decent, doesn't it?
Oh, my gosh, feels like a heat wave.
I know it. It's good. Let's start off. Let's talk about the round last night and kind of your take on it, and, you know, who won the round and second and third and all that good stuff, and what was your take on the barrel racing on round one last night?
I really thought the girls and the horses both did quite well. The ground, to me, was a little sticky.
Right.
It made the horses look a little rough,
right.
A few of them. But for the most part, I thought they all did very well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a few girls that got barrels, but, you know.
That's to be expected. I mean,
that's to be expected. You know, they weren't wanting to do that in the first round, but things happen, so they just keep their head up and keep going to the next one. And with talking about the ground, Sherry Serby was last on it last night,
right.
And she won the round.
Right, sure.
So that's not always true that you can win first on the ground.
Right.
She proved that last night, and she made a really nice run.
How does that work as far as the order? You know, she was 15th last night. I mean, she's number one in the world, and she ran 15th last night. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. What slot will she run in tonight?
Every night they skip two. So like last night, Trula was first.
Okay.
And so they'll skip two. And so Gene Winters should be first tonight.
All right.
And so they do that every night.
I got you. I've always wondered, too, you know, speaking about the ground and all that good stuff, you like to be first, but what about like third run or the fifth? You know, is that's still okay right in there as far as the ground goes, isn't it?
It's good.
Right.
Usually when you get to about the 6th or 7th position, it gets a little heavier, a lot more tracks to fall into, but there's some horses it doesn't bother.
Right.
And the ground here doesn't get deep like it would in Texas, say,
right, sure.
with the deep sand.
Right.
And so your chances being 15th is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, Sherry proved that last night.
Right, sure. And we were talking about, you know, how much it pays in each round. What does it pay, you know, to win a round here in Las Vegas?
Well, yesterday I wasn't for sure, so I did my homework, and $18,600.
Wow.
A pretty good check for 14 seconds.
Right. And that's 10 nights in a row that they can run for 18,000. I mean, even third place, I mean, I'm just guessing maybe, you know, $9,000, $8,000. I'm not sure, but
I think it was 11.
11, even
like
better.
That.
Even better. That is amazing.
It would be a good Christmas shopping bonus.
That's you know, one round is better than any rodeo you'll go to all year long. Is that right?
Oh, definitely. That's why we haul hard all year to get to this point. Just because of the pay is so good, and you get to meet your fans and do things for your sponsors that have helped you throughout the year, and so it's an honor to be here for one as a competitor. And like for myself, I ended up 19th in the world, and to be able to come out here and support my friends that are running barrels and get to help my sponsors out, signing autographs and meeting fans, I'm having a blast.
Sure. Well, we're glad that you joined us up here. Two people come to mind, you know, as far as this being their first year at the NFR. You know, we had Michelle McLeod up here just a second ago, and Chad of Brazil, and it looks like they had great runs last night. But talk to us about, you know, first time to the NFR and kind of what that entails, and, you know, being nervous and all of that. I mean, I don't know, it seems like the ropers, you know, they go in there and they get to back in the box, check it out, you know, walk in there, you know, that kind of thing. You're coming from a dead run from an alleyway to, you know, this open arena with loud music, crowd. I don't know how many they can fit in the Thomas and Mack there, but what's that like for a first-timer here at the NFR?
Sometimes it can be overwhelming. I ran into Michelle last night after the rodeo, and I asked her, I said, well, did you get any butterflies? And of course, Michelle's just easygoing, cool hand Luke. Yeah. She said, no.
Yeah, no.
Just another barrel race.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But I haven't ran into Shada yet, and, you know, everybody handles it different. Right. I know when I ran here in 2008, I will have to say I had a few butterflies.
Right, sure, sure.
But you know, that's why we do it.
Right, exactly.
It's fun. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, the horse, I guess you try to stay as calm as you can. The horse can feel that, you know, your nervousness, you know, and that kind of deal. And I guess that can affect them a little bit.
Oh, definitely. Because you got your nerves you're dealing with, the horse's nerves, and then you have all of your fellow barrel racers around you and their horses. So there's a lot of nerves and different feelings going along with all of that. So everyone handles it different.
Right, sure. Yesterday we talked about, you know, I don't know if it was NFR, but you were talking about, you know, winning a round or something like that. And a lot of times you don't know that. I think I asked, you know, after you come around the third barrel and you're heading out of there, do you have an idea, you know, that you may have won the round, you might be pretty close, but I noticed last night when Sherry Servey came riding through there, she may not know she just won the round, but I noticed somebody said, you won the round, you need to get on this horse. She hops over the fence, gets on the horse to make the victory lap there.
I mean, she could probably feel that her run was really, really a nice run, and you really can't hear back there. Right. So she was probably like, you know, did I?
Yeah.
Did I?
Sure.
And when somebody says, give me your horse, you got to go back in there. It's the greatest feeling ever. And I noticed when she come in, she had a smile ear to ear.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a great feeling to have that excitement when somebody says, oh, you won the round.
Right, sure. When you guys, you know, you're here at the NFR, you're busy all day long. You know, I notice bareback riders, bull riders, team ropers, barrel racers, you know, I'm sitting here talking, I can see them pass by right here, and then another group will pass by this way, headed out. Very busy during the day. I guess y'all have people help take care of your animals. I mean, it's impossible for y'all to be out there with them like you would probably want to be. I know, you probably want to hang with them and that kind of deal, but you have help while you're out here. Is that right?
Most definitely. You have to have help out here. Most of the girls have people that help them throughout the year, and so they feel comfortable leaving their horse with them. And, you know, they may help them drive. They may help them take care of them. But there still is that special bond that you have with your horse. You know, that, like for me, instance, I feel like I teach them to want to perform for me instead of make them perform. So it may take me longer to make that horse. He may be 5 or 6 years old before I get him to this level of competition, but I ask him to do it instead of force it. So that bond between you and your animal is very important.
Right, sure. What are they doing out there? You know, does the horse just stand in the stall? Do they put them on the walker? What's going on during the day with the horses?
Well, I mean, every girl's different, and the horses are grazing, moving around animals, and so you try to get them out of the stall as often as you can. And so, like throughout the year when you're hauling, and say you have to, you know, make a 10-hour trip or 15-hour trip.
Right.
One of the things I wanted to touch base with is how often you get a horse out of the trailer.
Right, sure.
Because that's very important. Absolutely. Because a horse grazes, and so they naturally drain their sinuses when they put their head down.
Right.
And when they're in the trailer, most of the trailers nowadays have mangers, which is nice because you can feed them in there, but that doesn't allow them to let their head down. And so I tried to unload my horse 4 to 6 hours and let them get their head down, hopefully to graze around or just to stretch their necks and their bodies. And a lot of times when you get them out, they'll sneeze or blow their nose, and you'll see stuff come out, and it's the sinuses draining.
Right.
And I feel like that's really important, especially, you know, sometimes you go from Texas, hot weather, up north, and you're in cooler climate, and I feel like it's kind of like us when we kind of get a runny nose or feeling like we're getting a cold, I think the horses have the same feeling, and so when they can lower their head to clean the sinuses,
Sure.
I think it's real important.
I didn't know that, to be honest with you, and I guess that's a more natural position for their head down, you know.
Right, because that's the way they clear their sinuses, is to blow their nose or to let it drain naturally. And a lot of girls keep hay in their trailer for their
Right,
horses, because they're a grazing animal. And so my horse, Scrappy, he likes to dunk.
Right.
So
Yeah.
he likes to dunk his hay in the water. So I put this little bucket of water in my trailer
Yeah.
next to his hay bag. And when I get there, it's kind of messy, but
Right, sure.
I feel like it helps him get some fluids,
Right.
the water, so he doesn't get as dehydrated or keep him from getting dehydrated. And so the water is important too. I always offer them water. I do a lot of electrolytes in their
Right.
feed or water, or even a paste. Oxygen has a great line of products that keeps your horse with a lot of what's the word, where you don't get dehydrated.
Right, sure.
From
Just fluids and
and minerals
yeah.
and probiotics to keep their
Right.
gut working properly, because when we stress our animals hauling them, they tend to get ulcers. And I, for one, didn't realize what ulcers, I didn't really realize they could get ulcers until when I was training Dylan back in '05 to be a futurity horse. He started not working very well. He wouldn't turn, he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, and I was thinking, this horse is not going to make a rodeo horse.
Right, yeah.
And one of my friends that trains, he said, well, he might have ulcers, and I was like, I'm going to give him ulcers.
Right, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And on the way home, I got to thinking about it, and I thought, I'm going to try this. And so at the time, the product on the market was GastroGuard, and so I used that, and it completely turned him around.
Right, sure.
And so I'm a firm believer in trying to be a preventative of the horses getting ulcers, and Oxygen has a real fine line of products
Right.
that helps that. So, sinuses and ulcers and feed, and there's just 900 million different things you have to think about when you're hauling and competing
Right.
to keep that horse, wanting to perform for you.
Tell us about, out on the road, keeping your horse shod and that kind of stuff. We all have the comforts of horseshoer, comes to your house, all that good stuff. But when you're gone months at a time, how does that work?
Well, a lot of us fly our shoers in.
Really?
Yes, because there's a lot of great horseshoers
Yeah.
out there, but when you have that one person that's been shoeing your horse,
Yeah,
for
sure.
years, they know much about him as you do.
Right.
It's scary to change to a different farrier. There's a lot of husbands and guys that do shoe on the road, and I have used some, but a lot of the girls fly their farrier in, just one little slip of the rasp,
Right, sure.
and you can be done for months.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when the women go get their nails done.
Right.
You don't want to get them cut too short.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I never really realized, that there's probably a lot of horseshoers that was been flown out here to Vegas and run checks throughout the day as far as the horses go.
Yes,
and
most definitely.
walking through the
A
barn
lot of the
there.
horseshoers come out, a lot of their vets.
Right.
Because you never know when they might get a bellyache or you just never know when you might need your vet. I know that a lot of girls, and even myself, I do a lot of icing to their legs, after a run, because I feel like there's an athletic just like any of the guys roping, any of the
Sure.
girls, any of the football players. So I do a lot of ice
Right.
on their legs. I use magnets to increase the circulation in their muscles. It helps take out the soreness.
Right.
And there's a blanket I use that it's made by Respond, and when it's battery operated and it pulls out the lactic acid in their muscles. And so, we treat them.
Yeah.
Actually, we treat them better than we treat ourselves.
Well, yeah, and I know a lot of that stuff's, preventative, it's just something you need to do.
Yes, very much preventative.
Especially at this level, and barrel horses aren't cheap, that's
No.
that's your investment right there.
Yes.
As far as that goes. Yeah, I bet there's a lot of stuff that you have to do as far as that goes. But as far as the stalls here, are they indoor, outdoor? Does horses, do they have blankets on right now, or, that it's cooler out? What is it like there?
I haven't personally been to the stalls this year,
right.
But they're under a tent, and
so it's chilly in
there. So it's chilly under there, and this time of year the horses get a lot of hair,
right?
And so normally this nice a day out, they probably take the blankets off.
See. Maybe put them on at night or something.
Unless people have their horses under lights and they don't let them get the winter hair,
right?
Then they probably keep a blanket on them.
I got you.
Throughout the day.
Right, and I guess that's one of those deals, it can be really cold, and you're driving down the road, and you see some horses with blankets, some with not. I guess that's one of those deals. You either, I'm sure, at this level, these horses, I know you are blanketing horses and stuff, but it's one of those deals. You either need to do it or not do it. Is that right? I mean, you can't miss a day if it gets cold or too hot.
Yeah, and like where I'm from in Texas, I mean, last week it was 75, right. And this week it's 32.
Exactly.
And so I usually don't blanket,
right.
Just for the simple fact of the weather being so fluctuant that, if I'm gone to town or something, I can't be there to take
right.
the blanket
sure.
off. The worst thing for them is to stand there and sweat.
Right.
And so I usually don't blanket. And even in hauling in the trailer, it's the same thing. It can be really hot, or, you drive 6 hours and then it's freezing.
Right, exactly.
And so a lot of times I don't blanket. I put a magnet sheet on them. It's kind of a mesh sheet that has magnets in it to keep the circulation going in their muscles. And I just usually drop the doors.
Right.
I usually don't drop the face door. I see a lot of people driving with the face door down, or even letting their horses' heads hang out. And me personally, I don't care for that. Right. It makes me nervous.
Right.
And I just choose not to. I choose not to open the door on the front face, because you're having that wind blowing in their face, and I just feel like it's not good for their sinuses.
Right. Sure. And I know as you travel the country, different states, a lot of those roads are really narrow.
Very.
And if you have horses hanging out and that kind of deal, I've heard some stories, different stuff, take Louisiana, for example. It seems like the roads down there really narrow,
narrow and bumpy.
Oh, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, well, good deal. What, back to the NFR, I like visiting with you about, that kind of deal. It's a different feel, you come out here and, yesterday was a Thursday. Usually we're all at work, that kind of deal. And you come out here, everybody's on vacation. It's Christmas time, there's a buzz in the air, especially after last night. But just talk about that feeling, riding down that alley, and coming to that first barrel. What are you looking for? Is it any different than any other rodeo?
You try to pretend like it's not,
right.
But actually it's an adrenaline rush you will never experience, right, unless you get to run down the Thomas and Mack alleyway. For the simple reason, they line you up over on the left-hand side, during the calf roping, and while you're sitting there, they bring down the flags, and then here comes the wagon. And luckily my horses that hasn't bothered him, but some of the horses that bothers, and so you're trying to keep them calm and focused, and the flags are going by, the wagon's going by.
The wagon's what drops the barrels out there, right? I mean, it's a team. Is that what you're talking about?
It's a team of horses. A team of horses, yes, and a stagecoach, and they come in to make a circle, and they usually have some presentation they give, and then a lot of times if he kind of wants to air his horses out, I call it, he gets to going pretty fast up that hill, and it's kind of noisy, and a lot of the horses kind of raise their heads and their tails both.
I imagine so. Do you remember your first run into the Thomas and Mack? Do you remember your time or how you did or anything like that? I know that had to be very nerve-wracking, but do you remember your first run?
I do remember my first run, and it was kind of a blur. It happened so fast. I had to go back and watch some of the tapes.
Sure, absolutely.
But sitting in the alleyway, because I think I come in 5th, and so I had to sit there because I started with 15th, and so you sit there, and you're thinking, oh, this is no big deal. And when you get down in there a little closer to the action and the clanking and banking of the bulls loading in the alleyway, your heart starts pounding.
Yeah, I bet.
Your horse starts pounding. Your horse's heart starts pounding, and so it's something you just, and once they open that gate and you get it out in the alleyway and you're coming into the arena, as loud as the people and the noise is, I don't remember hearing a thing.
Right.
It's just amazing how you can block out some of the noise and just focus on what you're doing. And
right, sure.
And my horses really get to feeding off the crowd.
Right.
You know, the louder the music and the louder the noise, the harder they try.
Right, sure.
And with that being said, a lot of the rodeo horses, you know, they can compete under such pressure and such noise that a lot of times if you take them to just a jackpot where it's quiet and no action, they really don't take you serious.
Right. Maybe not as fired up.
They're not as fired up and not as aggressive.
Right.
And you want to get aggravated at them, but you really can't because you've put them in that atmosphere for so long, and then it's just kind of like, oh, well, I'm not here to show off for anybody.
Right, sure. Kind of along that lines, you know, some of these rodeos are so big, and, you know, they go for weeks at a time, and there's so many different rounds. And do you prefer to be in a performance or a morning slack? You know, what do you prefer as far as running?
I hate morning slack.
Yeah.
It's especially when it's, you know, really, really cold.
Right, yeah, I'm sure.
And your horse is feeling froggy and you have to get up early.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not one of my favorite times.
Yeah.
A performance is my preference.
Right, sure.
I prefer it. My horse prefers it. It just gives us both an adrenaline rush. You know, it just makes you feel good.
Right.
And you know, the luck of the draw has a lot to do with it throughout the year. And unfortunately, the end of the season, my luck wasn't too good.
Right.
And Mother Nature wasn't very nice to me either. I could have went and ran, but I was entered in Sikeston, Missouri, and I was still 12 hours from there, and they were getting tons and tons of rain. So I decided, instead of hauling my horse that far, taking a chance of running in the mud, I just decided to turn out.
Right, sure.
And that time of year when you're, you know, sitting 14th, 15th, 16th, you really need that rodeo.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought, okay, I guess God has a different plan for me this year.
Right, sure.
So here I am talking with you
and
getting to,
the next best
and getting
thing,
to talk to the people. And I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun doing this.
Good deal. Along that lines, as far as the rain, you know, you get a group of gals that's up on Monday. It's 80 degrees outside, perfect, you know, conditions. And then you're up on Tuesday, and they get 3 inches of rain, something like that. And you're already there. You know, you're going to go ahead and run, that kind of thing. But I guess each time is a different round, you know, even, you know, in a rodeo, right? I mean, Monday night pays, Tuesday night's a separate round. How does that work?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Now, some of the rodeos, San Antonio and Houston, they have gone to a format where you were just competing against the girls in your performance.
Right.
So there's 10, I don't know if there's 10 or 12, which honestly, when the rodeo goes for so long, for 2 or 3 weeks, it's actually advantage to the girls because everybody's having to run in the same condition.
I see.
You know, on the ground, it's pretty much the same. Instead of having to wait for another group of girls to come in there and, say, for instance, even in a coliseum, the ground settles a little bit, and so the next group of girls may have ground that's settled and a little faster. And if you had to compete against them, you know, your chances of winning money are not as good.
Right, sure.
And so the format they've done with some of the larger rodeos, having, you know, you might make 3 runs or 4 runs in a row and just compete against those girls, has actually worked to the benefit, because that way you don't have to wait 2 weeks down the line and to see if you won money, or or if it's outside, see if Mother Nature was kind to you or not.
Right, exactly. As a kid, did you go watch the NFR in person, or did you grow up watching it on TV, or did you get to come out and check that deal out?
Well, actually, when I was 12, my mother had bought my WPRA card, and I rodeoed. She hauled me all over, and I was in contention for making the NFR way back then, and my horse got sick, and I had sold my backup horse, and so I didn't have anything to get on, and I ended up like 18th in the standings that year, and it was in Oklahoma City.
Right, sure.
So I went ahead and watched. It wasn't one of my favorite things
Right.
to do
Oh, I
because I
bet.
was sitting in the
Yeah.
stands.
Man.
When you're 12 years old, you're going, gee, I wish I was down
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
So I've grown up watching it, you know,
Right.
and I've always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to run at the NFR.
Right, sure.
And like I told my son, I said, you know, you dream big.
Right.
And I said it may happen in 5 days, 5 years, or 20 years. I said,
Yeah.
you just keep trying.
Right, sure. Folks, we're here with Annesa Self right here, and we're visiting. And I was going to let y'all know if anybody has any questions out here for her, just raise your hand and we'll ask. We're going to have to wrap it up before too long, but as far as tonight goes, do you have a pick, you know, as far as the second round or anything
my
like that?
gosh.
Or have you?
There are so many good horses.
Yeah.
And all the girls are absolutely
Right. That's the deal.
excellent riders. I don't really have a favorite. I'm
Sure.
cheering for all of them.
And that's the deal, you know, you can have your favorite, but it's almost like, you know, to me, like an NFL team, you know, the worst team in the league can beat the best team at any time. You know, they're all professionals and they're all there for a reason.
Right.
You know, and every one of them, they had to, you know, win major rodeos to be here this year. So I guess any of them can win at any time then.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And we're all friends. It's kind of like one big family,
Right.
but it's kind of when you go down that alleyway, the only thing you think about are you and that horse.
Right, sure.
And if it all works out, great. And if it don't, you just go the next one.
Oh, yeah. Do it again. Well, Annesa, we've run out of time for today, but you're going to be back with us tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes,
What
3 o'clock
time?
tomorrow.
3 o'clock tomorrow.
3 o'clock tomorrow, yes, sir.
Good deal. Well, everybody, give a round here for Annesa Self. We appreciate her being here. And be
Thank
sure
you.
and join us here tomorrow as well. Annesa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.